What's going on, everyone? My name is SiahZ and welcome back to a brand new First Descendants build guide video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my absolute monster of a DPS bossing Blair build. This build is able to kill hard mode bosses within seconds, put out some amazing DPS, and basically guarantee critical hits with every shot. I'll also be showing you guys a different DPS build if you wanted to go with his ultimate to just shoot around giant fireballs to do pretty good burst DPS. Now, I do think once you guys try Blair out, you guys will be pleasantly surprised on how much fun he can be, especially around his different builds you can do, which we'll go ahead and cover here in a second. So with that being said, let's get straight into the build guide. So his first ability is called Blaze Up. Basically, he creates a flame zone on the ground under him. Enemies standing in it will take tick damage, and this is going to be used to basically further use some of his other skills to get his bonuses and so on. This isn't really going to be a skill you're going to be using for AoE clearing or like boss DPSing. It's just going to be kind of there to set up other stuff to get us, being able to do more damage with our other skills or more firearm attack damage if we are running the Backdraft Transcendent mod. Now his next skill is called Extinguish. What this does basically is it retrieves the flame zones that are created by Blair, which we will create flame zones when we do Blaze Up. This will basically recover our MP and proportional to basically how many flame zones are recovered. So we get 19 MP back per flame zone that we kind of consume. Now we also will get other beneficial effects as well, such as skill power modifier increase whenever we recover these flame zones. So like I said, flame zones are kind of the whole shtick of Blair. Kind of think of him as a mage, almost putting down like incantations and stuff like that. So we kind of want to have flame zones down to get all the beneficial effects and to get max damage out of Blair. Now the next skill that we have is basically Burn Taste. It's just a flamethrower. It's going to, do decent damage, apply burn to them to do a continuous dot, but by no means is this going to be something that you're going to be bossing with. It is decent on ad clearing. You can get the cooldown pretty low on it if you do wish to kind of have an AoE Blair build. It isn't by no means going to be insane, but it is decent. I was using this to clear out some outposts, some farms to help in the wave defense special operation missions for clearing and so on, but it by no means is going to be like an S tier skill you're going to be using. Now his fourth and final skill is his ultimate, which is Deadly Cuisine. Basically he summons a giant fireball forward that is going to explode, drop a bunch of little fireballs that are going to create AoE flame zones. The ultimate does decent damage. It's going to have a decent amount of burst, like I said, but overall it's a decent ability, just there for more utility sake to keep our flame zones to maximum. Now his passive, basically we're going to increase our skill critical hit damage if we're attacking enemies inflicted with burn, and then also depending on the amount of flame zones are on the battlefield, we will get an increased skill critical hit rate. So we can see at max we're going to get 14% more skill critical hit rate, which is really good to get his skills up to basically 100% critical hit rate, especially on his giant fireball, to guarantee those juicy crits. So now that we went ahead and talked about what the character's playstyle is and stuff and what you want to focus on, we're going to get into basically what mods we're running and what builds you can run with this character. If you guys are enjoying the video or the build guide, if you guys could consider hitting that like and subscribe button, that is currently the best way to support me and really lets me know you guys are enjoying the build videos, and it lets YouTube know as well, which really helps me to get the channel out to people that are unfamiliar with it. So in turn, like I said, that's the best way to support me if you guys do wish to do so at this current time. All right, let's get back into the build. Now the build you saw in the montage is my backdraft, basically weapon build. This is what I advise running over every other build, but I will show you a different build here in a second if you do want to focus on his ult. But basically we're running backdraft, and the reason why we're running this is because it increases weak point damage and firearm attack instead of skill power per flame zones that we consume. So if we go ahead and look here, basically once we throw down Blaze Up to do our flame zones and we go ahead and consume them with our Extinguish, we see that it will give us weak point damage increase per flame zone and firearm attack increase instead of actually doing the skill power modifier increase and stuff like that. Now at max weak point damage, which we can go to 3 stacks, it's 24% more weak point damage and 18% more firearm attack, which is absolutely amazing once we consider running high critical hit damage and weak point damage multi-weapons like snipers, perforators, and so on. We can take full effect of that and do some insane DPS on bossing. Now we can also see here that our passive changes. Instead of being skill critical hit rate, it is now firearm attack increase. So if we go ahead and look here and we throw down 3 flame zones with the backdraft mod equipped, we can see that we go up to 88% firearm crit rate on our afterglow. So basically a 90% crit rate. That means almost every bullet is critting, which is absolutely amazing. And then something like our perforator with a low base crit rate of only 20%, this goes up to 61%, which is absolutely amazing. Basically we're just going to try to keep our flame zones up to go ahead and increase that firearm skill critical hit rate. Next we're running shock punch, but obviously you want to have long distance or mid-air maneuvering. I just have not gotten the mod yet. Spent like 30 hours grinding it, so I haven't got it. My luck's horrible. So I don't know, but definitely run like long distance or mid-air maneuvering over something like this. We're going to be running increased HP for survivability. HP is 10 times better than shields currently, just because there's not really too much ways to go ahead and get your shield recovery in combat. Plus shields are just even if you have like 8k 7k shields, it feels like they go down within a second. And like I said, there's really no way to efficiently recover those in combat, so I would focus on defense and HP more than anything until there's more ways to build into shields in the game. Next, we're running Shot Focus. This was a mod that wasn't working as intended, but back in patch 1.0.3 they fixed it. So now we're going to get 15% more firearm attack increase, which is absolutely amazing. Like I said, since we can go ahead and get like basically guaranteed crits, more weak point damage, all that, this helps really well. And especially being a Descendant mod is even better. We just get free firearm attack. Now the skill power modifier does go down, but we aren't using our skills with this build, so we don't really care about that. Next, running multi-talented to get the cooldown. Once we use a dimension active skill, which using like flame zones, our ultimate, our flamethrower, all that is dimension. So basically we're gonna get that 20-second cooldown. MP conversion for more cooldown, and nimble fingers for even more skill cooldown. And this just allows our basically our blaze up and stuff like that to be on a 4.5 second cooldown, and then that's without multi-talented. So with multi-talented up, we go to like a 3-second cooldown, which basically allows us to put 3 of these down, go ahead and extinguish to get our stacks and all that, and then we basically already have 3 recharges back on blaze up to put them down to get max stacks for our critical hit rate, which is absolutely amazing. And basically we want to try to keep all that up as much as possible on Blair to keep our DPS up as high as possible. Next, we're running Spear and Shield for more defense. Basically, if you do want to be more tankier here, you can run increased defense. That would be better here, but as is what I have leveled up, so Spear and Shield is what I have, but increased defense if you did want to take more hits. Next, we're running Skill Extension. This is just going to give our skill duration 32% increased. Basically, we're just trying to keep this up as much as possible, so I want for Skill Extension here to give more duration, and we are lasting about 30 seconds on Extinguish and about 17 seconds on our Blaze Up, which, like I said, usually is enough on like hard mode bosses like Devour and stuff to kill them, and we don't even have to refresh. But we're just trying to keep it up as much as possible so we don't have to, you know, rebuff and do all that, which, you know, we can keep damaging the boss as much as possible to keep that uptime high as possible. So this is basically my DPS bossing build, the build you saw in the montage at the beginning. You know, the firearm build, this is the build that I think is better, or the best build you can possibly run with Blair right now. Now, if you did want to focus on his ultimate and his giant fireball, this is the build that I would go ahead and run. Basically running Truly Deadly Cuisine makes our fireball, instead of shooting the little ones when it explodes, it consumes both of them, and it just does way more damage. As we can see, it's 7,000% skill power modifier, and then base without the Truly Deadly Cuisine Transcendent mod, it's only like 400. So it's absolutely amazing on the increase that it gives, and this is just going to increase the damage that the fireball does. We're running again Shock Punch, but you don't run long distance or midair. And then we're running increased HP. You would run around Spear and Shield as well if you had the Forma slots or increased defense, but I currently don't right now. So definitely run one of those defense mods. It's 100%. You should be running on like that mod, pretty much every character you're building. We're running front lines to get more skill crit damage and skill crit hit. And the reason for that is just because our passive gives us skill critical hit. And as we can see, if we're running this and we throw 3 flame zones down, we basically we have 100% crit rate. So our skills are always critting no matter what, which is absolutely amazing. So basically we're just going to try to get our skill crit damage up as high as possible because of that. So we're running front lines for skill crit damage and skill crit hit. Focus fire again for more fire skill power. Since our stuff is fire dimension, we basically are going to just get more damage out of it. Plus the skill cooldown is pretty nice as well. Multi-talented to get the actual skill cooldown low as possible. Now, I was trying to go for a low cooldown spammable alt, which you can get this to 7 seconds down once multi-talented is proc. But the only issue that I ran into it was our MP isn't really high enough, or we don't have enough MP recovery to actually be able to throw our flame zones down and fireball and then keep spamming. Basically, once we do flame zones, fireball, we have no mana left. So if you guys can figure a way out of doing that, you definitely want to run multi-talented. But if you currently, I really can't figure a way. So what you want to run instead of that is Dangerous Ambush. Dangerous Ambush is basically just going to give us more skill power on enemies that aren't targeting us, and even more on enemies that are mobilized. Now, at max level on this mod, it's like 50% more skill power modifier on immobilized enemies. And basically, any immobilized enemy is like any boss that's in like a stun state. You crack a piece of like armor off their weak point and so on. So doing this mod is going to give us a way more skill power, and it's going to allow us to do a lot more damage on bosses and get that burst damage up higher. So I'd run Dangerous Ambush instead of multi-talented for that reason alone, unless you can figure a way around the MP. Then we're running Skill Insight for more skill crit rate, Nimble Fingers to get the cooldown a little bit lower, Skill Con for more skill crit damage, and Emergency Measures for more skill crit damage and crit rate. And then we're running MP conversion for cooldown. And like I said, last spawn would be like increased defense, Spear and Shield, something like that is what you would want to run if you had the slot available. Now this is basically what you're going to be running for his ultimate ability if you wanted to go ahead and run big spammable, you know, ultimate and so on. But generally I would run build 1 here. This is the build that is going to be the firearm one seen in the montage at the beginning. This is, I think, is the best one you can currently run on Blair. Gives you the most damage on bossing, the most uptime, and so on. And it's really easy to sustain to get all those max stacks. We're basically going to guarantee crit damage and so on. So it's really good in my opinion, and definitely the best one so far. Next, we're going to get to what weapons we're running and so on. So since we basically have our skill crit rate so high, we want to run something with high crit damage and weak point damage multi. So that's why I went ahead and went with the Afterglow, just because it has a 1.8 x weak point damage multi and a 2x crit damage multi, as well as a really high crit damage chance and a really good firearm base. So running this basically is going to be kind of the best you can run. I would think Piercing Light is going to be better here, just because Piercing Light has a higher base damage multi. So Piercing Light is going to be better, especially since we can get the crit damage up higher just with using Blair's Backdraft Transcendent mod. I think Piercing Light's going to be better, but Afterglow still works extremely well. Now the mod you would want to run on it is Strength and First Shot. This gives us 200% more firearm attack once we reload off the first shot. Weak point for even more weak point damage. Action and reaction for firearm attack. Rifling enhancement for more firearm attack. Better concentration for even more crit damage. Focus fire for more weak point damage and crit damage. Better insight for our crit chance to go up. And then concentration for even more firearm crit damage. And then we were just running concentration stabilizer here because we have the mod capacity, and it's just a free 3.5% crit damage. So running this, like I said, we basically have a 90% crit rate. We're going to be hitting millions of DPS per shot with the Afterglow with this build, which is absolutely amazing. The other weapons you could run like an SMG, like Python, Thunder Cage, something with high fire rate. Since our crit chance is going to be so high, you should be critting basically every other bullet with like an SMG. So you definitely melt if you have a really good SMG build. The other one I was testing on is Perforator. The reason being because Perforator has high, weak point multi at 2.25x, which is the highest in the game, and then a 2x crit damage. The only issue with the weapon is it has low crit chance, which we can take full effect of Blair. We can get the crit chance up to 60%, which is absolutely amazing with this weapon from a 20% base. And the stats you'd want to be looking if you are running like Afterglow or Perforator, you definitely want to be looking for like bonus firearm attack versus Colossus, firearm crit damage, firearm attack, and then probably like weak point damage or some type of flat elemental like electric attack, chill attack, something like that. Both of those stats basically work for both weapons. What you'd be trying to aim for. But basically any weapons with like a high crit damage multi, weak point damage, stuff like that is going to be insanely good on Blair, and that's what I would advise trying to build around. Next thing we are playing is for the Reactor. We're running a burning phase reactor here with some type of melting, like Thunder Cage, Perforator, Afterglow, basically whatever you have you want to kind of farm for. You want to go for Fire Dimension because that's what most of his skills go for. And then for the weapon build side of it, you would want to go for like skill duration up, skill cooldown, something like that. If you get both of those on, it would be amazing. This is just going to allow us to have even more cooldown and more uptime on our skills. But if you are running the Fireball version, you'd want to go for something like Dimension, Skill Boost Ratio, and Skill Crit Damage. Or, you could even do like Fire Boost Ratio and Skill Crit Damage. And I think even running Skill Crit Damage and Skill Attack Increase for Colossus would be extremely well here as well. So basically that's what you'd be trying to run if you are running the ultimate version, the Giant Fireball. But regardless, if you're not and you're running the firearm attack, you don't really need to worry about that. Just go for skill duration and cooldown on your Reactor and you'll be good to go. For external components, I think the best thing you could do is a 2-piece Decimator, 2-piece Veteran. This is going to give us firearm a critical hit rate increase. But you could also alternatively run something like the Annihilation set. If you did want a loadout swap, I didn't include it in here because it's going to get fixed soon and I don't want to include something that's going to be fixed. So, that's why I didn't include it. But you could run it if you did want to get more damage out of the build in the current state of the game. Now for stats, you want to be looking on our external components is just defense and HP. So something like my auxiliary power here that gives them more defense, and then substat max HP and gold. That's what you want to be looking for. You can run like defense, MP isn't even bad. Some type of resistance isn't bad either on it. So basically that's what you want to be trying to look on your external components. So we basically covered the builds, the weapons, what you want to be looking for stat wise for weapons, the build for the weapons, your external components, your stats on all those stuff. That pretty much wraps the build up. If you guys have any questions on the build, please let me know in the comment section below and I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities. We also have a Discord that we help people out. You can shoot your questions over there if you are interested. We have a really good community that helps people with bossing and so on. We theorycraft over there, so if you guys want to be part of that, the link for that will be in the description and comment section of this video. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, and I hope you did enjoy the build. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.